Joe Mad confirmed on Twitter that Strife's horse will be playable. Shout out to Miguel Genos, hope I said that correctly, for asking all the right questions. As far as Darksiders goes, this is awesome news considering in 3 we were unable to ride Fury's horse Rampage, but this raises interesting questions because in the E3 Coliseum panel, Ryan Stefanelli from Airship Syndicate said that the game is level based. It makes me wonder, with the horses being playable, how big will each level be? What kind of level design are we looking at? Now, my experience with isometric camera games are only limited to a single campaign run through in Diablo 3. I know you can get mounts or horses in that game, which I never really did, and I know Darksiders Genesis doesn't really like being compared to Diablo 3, but that's the only real comparison I can do right now with my experience.
When we started the game, and we figured we would probably get initial comparisons to ARPGs just by first impression, isometric camera, that's the natural instinct to think that it's a Diablo-like. But our goal always was to capture the feel of Darksiders 1, but from an isometric perspective. And I think now that people have seen more gameplay and as more and more press gets to write about it and play it themselves, it's pretty clear that like the 3 main pillars of the Darksiders experience, which are obviously combat kind of leads the way, but there's lots of traversal, there's lots of puzzle solving, there's interaction with the environment. In Genesis, there is some sense of character progression, but it's not a looter. But you still upgrade your health, you upgrade your wrath, you collect creature cores, which slot into a type of skill tree. There are secrets to explore. You get items as you go through the game. Then you can go back to previous levels and play them again. Because unlike the other core Darksiders games, the mainline ones, this is actually a level-based game, so you complete level 1, go back to a hub, go to level 2. And you can go back and play them again on different difficulty settings, and there's still a lot of the Darksiders style replayability built in, but it's in a different format. But yeah, I think when people get their hands on it, the surprise reaction is, oh, it feels like Darksiders, even though it's isometric.
So I do see how Genesis can execute the dynamic between nooks and crannies of a dungeon to galloping in open fields for exploration. Strife will have a twin stick mechanic, which I stated in my earlier video that I didn't think it was going to be, but it is. But thankfully, Strife does have a decent melee. Now, there's 2 major demo videos out that show like the 2 guys. Serial Killer does a lot of melee, and then the Xbox FR does a lot of war and a lot of gunplay with Strife. So those 2 different demos do a good job of showing like the different style of gameplay that you could have depending on however you play. But anyways, back to Strife's horse. On the Darksiders wiki, it states that he rides the white horse, and it's currently unnamed in Darksiders lore. But in popular media, it's known as Conquest. I don't know if they're going to roll with that same name or what's happening there. But it's definitely going to be nice seeing Strife mounted up alongside, and the return of Ruin, War's horse, don't forget. And with the horse gameplay and taking account the level-based world, I can only assume that it's going to be half dungeons and half massive areas to explore. Just a small assumption. I don't know. They could be doing some crazy shit. This is just like some wishful thinking on my end. If they had like a mini level where you're just riding the horse and you're like galloping through enemies and jumping over like an old school 2D platform kind of thing, that'd be super cool. And I do hope Strife's horse gets his own CG reveal trailer. But alright guys, that's going to be it for this one. And just some closing statements. I feel like I'm about to appreciate Darksiders 3 a little bit more because when I first played it, I really felt that the different style where it's Dark Souls-ish and it's like a 3D Metroidvania type game, and at the end how it was like more of a bigger dungeon, you could kind of tell that was like a little weird. I don't know, for me it was a little weird. But now that I'm seeing this top-over camera style with Genesis, like I just appreciate how from Darksiders 1, it went from this God of War, Zelda, Devil May Cry type game to Darksiders 2 with the whole super open world, loot-driven mechanic. And 3, we have a different style with the Souls and Metroidvania platforming, and now we have this top-over camera and how it's just going to change the game. And that is the evolution of the Darksiders franchise. And I just I just find that so cool. It's like you don't really get many games or like a complete franchise where it's like, hey, it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. If you remember in Darksiders 2 at the end there, when you're on Earth, you can run through that entire area as a third-person shooter with the demon explosive rounds or whatever. But anyways, guys, I'm just looking at the whole franchise here and the Darksiders things. I'm a super fan, so I just love this shit. Like the drawings, the art, the way it makes me feel, and just everything about Darksiders. It's just, it's looking up for the franchise, guys. But anyways, I'm Machine Gun Mike, signing out, I guess. Peace.
Interesting. Perhaps you'll succeed after all. Either way, it will be quite a show.